This show is supported by Twin Cities Eye Consultants. No matter your seat at the match, Twin Cities Eye Consultants will make sure you can see your favorite players. Book your next eye exam 24/7 at tcecmn.com. Welcome in, Loons fans, to another edition of the Matchday Preview presented by Twin Cities Eye Consultants. Jonathan Harrison here, joined once again by Manny Lagos. Manny, so much to discuss. Special guest today. How are you today?
I'm very excited to announce the guest. I'm going to start with, though, that I was a little crabby about the weather and I loved last weekend. So much soccer, watched so much. Going into our home opener, I am amazed at how good the MLS is getting and how big it's getting and how big the clubs are getting and the level. I mean, again, I truly say this as I look at soccer around the world. I am just in awe at the – again, there are a lot of negatives. The MLS, like I said, we could talk about the growth in the TV audience and things that need to happen for this league to really get into the top 5 of the world. But at the same time, sometimes it's just good to take a deep breath and see where we are. And last weekend, the games, the stadiums, the fans, the goals, and now we get to have a home opener. And I wish it was a little warmer, but it's still going to be an amazing home opener. We're getting back at it. And I feel like I'm officially, the way we came back twice, tied that game. I'm psyched to be in the season. Before we introduce our guest, which I will help you to, well, you'll do, but I also got this cool new gear, this Unreal hat. This is the first time I'm doing this, throwing some new swag out there. I think Hamas wore this sweatshirt brand at the Timberwolves game, and it got like 500,000 hits like that. So yeah. I'm excited for the club in this level too. So with all that kind of fun stuff, we also get to have our local broadcaster, who is a national broadcaster, Kyndra, on the show today, which I'm super excited about. She's obviously, I think, biased towards us, but doesn't let on. She may not agree with that. But yes, very excited for the show today.
Yeah, looking forward to this. Don't knock the snow opener. There's a chance of snow. We might have a snow opener. Fingers crossed for those of us who love the orange ball and seeing that chaos ensue. But Kyndra, DC, and Aubin, I didn't ask this before we started recording, so that's on me. Are you on the game this weekend?
I am on the game this weekend. I'm very fortunate. 2 Loons games in a row for you. 2 Loons games in a row and the home opener, so you can't beat that.
There we go. How are you? Welcome to the show again. Long time no see, and looking forward to chatting with you about everything Major League Soccer and everything that we saw last night in CONCACAF Champions Cup action. Plenty to discuss there, and the opening week of the league. How are you?
Yeah, I always have to be careful because we always start chatting before we even start recording. So we don't want to waste all our good material, before we even hit the button. And Manny, I got to get one of those cups. I don't know where you got that cup from, that coffee cup. Is that
Yeah, this isn't these are around. I'm sure I can get you one of these, I'm sure. So
I have a plethora of coffee cups. And what I love about being a Minnesotan and wandering around all the local shops, even in town here, like in White Bear Lake, is there's so much Loons gear just for the state of Minnesota that it doesn't have to be Minnesota United, and you can still latch on to Loons gear all over the place, including a Kowalski. So I'm pumped for the game this week.
Loons in general now, which I love. The Loons become it always has been our pride and joy state bird, but I feel like now everybody identifies the Loons in Minnesota, and then now there's some non-Minnesota United gear that's Loon stuff. I think people even are like, oh yeah, the Loons, so it's
it's been elevated.
Yes. Definitely.
Yes. We have elevated the Loon.
We've got plenty to discuss today. Let's jump into the MLS week 1 wrap up of it. And I know everybody wants to start with LAFC Miami. That's not where I want to start. I want to start with the Play Your Kids movement in New York with the Red Bulls starting 3 under 17-year-olds. And one of them bagging a brace and scoring, 8 minutes into his debut, Kyndra? This was incredible scenes for Michael Bradley's debut as the head coach of the New York Red Bulls. And coming out and just laying it all in line and just dropping down 3 17-year-olds or under 17-year-olds in his first game is a heck of a call and a heck of a way to endear yourself to the Red Bull system, Kyndra.
Well, I think with Michael Bradley just understanding the importance of the youth movement, and he has experienced it himself, and then also just on a different level coaching overseas. So I think he understands how to develop the talent. I mean, yes, it's game one, so there's a long season to go. It's game, 33 plus games, depending on how many you're playing in Leagues Cup or anything else, any other additional competitions that Red Bull might be in. But I think for me, it was more about watching these guys step out there, these young men, and look so comfortable on the ball. And you guys have probably seen this with Minnesota United too, right? When we have the privilege to go to the twos training or watch them scrimmage another team or watch the academy players. And the fact that these guys now, these young men step onto a first team field and don't look out of place. And that doesn't happen with everybody. There's still a learning curve. But the comfortable nature on the ball with these guys, I was super impressed. And who knows if that's Michael Bradley, who knows if that's the players, who knows if it's, whoever came before him. And I know he was with the second team before. I just kudos to them for stepping out on the first day and getting it done. And it wasn't necessarily pretty. I listened to Michael Bradley's post-game speech, but they're trying to show people who they are and what they're about. And I was impressed.
Yeah, it was an impressive performance. I mean, a lot of the talk has also been about how disjointed Orlando looked at times, and I thought that was surprising that they came out in week one and didn't look the greatest, especially considering their opponents, New York Red Bulls, didn't have the greatest season last year, Manny. But what an impressive showing from some youngsters and a huge
I
moment.
love that you picked it first. This is I really want people to go back and look. You know how they show you the TAC map and like how who has the momentum?
Yeah.
To Kendra's point, 3 under 17 players start that game. That first half, Orlando after minute 4 didn't have the ball, didn't have one attacking pattern until halftime. I mean, it is truly should have been 4 or 5 nothing at halftime. And it was just these guys going out there doing a possession routine game like it's nothing. And it was like, honestly, like Barcelona-esque first half for them. And we're talking about first game of the year, on the road. Only one team won on the road, and was them, by the way. And just that first half was a masterclass of possession and calmness and really taking any energy of a home team and what they're maybe going to try to do in terms of their home momentum. It was, you're right, it was amazing. It was, and they all had different attributes in terms of how they did it. So the second half was a little bit back down to earth. That became a little bit more Orlando trying to get back in the game, although it still was it was 2-0 late. So it really wasn't, they really didn't, the 2-1 was a little bit of a false scoreline. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the stars, aging stars that come to this league, it is really fun to start a show about the young up and coming stars as well. I think that's going to be the secret sauce of this league, by the way. I think
Well, and if you had to pick on your bingo card who you thought the player of the match day was going to be for the whole league.
Oh, amazing.
You know what I mean? Like before the season started or even after that day one or the weekend, we should say, because we Saturday and Sunday now. But I mean, nobody would have picked Julian Holland. He was incredible on the day.
Yeah.
It's like Manny knew where I was going to go next with my next question with the aging stars comment there, because there has been reports that Antoine Griezmann and Orlando City are in advanced talks over a transfer for the French legend. So does he fix what we saw? I know, Manny, you like to hold off on until 10 games in to figure out what 4 games until what you can figure out what these teams are. But from what you saw in week 1 with Orlando, wasn't really very convincing. Can he fix whatever was going on there in week 1?
I think Griezmann's a really probably still good signing. You know, you could build a team around him and do really, really well. He still has the work rate, just because when you play at Athletic Madrid, you don't get away with not working hard, and he's got so many qualities. So I think he would add to any team in this league, given his kind of career and how well he's done, and has done just last year. Everybody thought he was going to dip last year. He's kind of dipping this year, but in Europe. But I still think he has a lot of quality to give. Yeah, I think a lot.
What do you think about that potential signing, Kyndra? That was a huge kind of thing that popped across the feed the other day. Is Advanced talks with Antoine Griezmann. I'm like, whoa, like, that came out of nowhere. It felt like that was either going to be LAFC or Miami, and here comes Orlando in sweeping in for Antoine Griezmann.
Well, I like it. I think to Manny's point, I think he still has a lot to give wherever he's at. And I'm way past the point of thinking that, this is some retirement league. I'm way beyond ever thinking that. And I think anybody that comes over and plays in this league, ages 27 to 35, 36, 37, realizes that when they get here, gone are the days of being able to think you can just waltz into this league and you're going to rest on your laurels and just show up on the middle of the pitch and not have to do any work. And so I love where it's at. I love that possibility of that signing. I think a Timo Werner just officially got to San Jose. I saw a picture of him holding up a jersey with the visa and all that jazz. So he's ready to go. So when we talk about some of these guys that are coming over now, and James Rodríguez, who knows with Minnesota United what the status is for him this weekend, but looking at all these guys and what they're still capable of, I think any kind of signing like that is going to elevate this league and challenge that player in a different way that they may have not been challenged before, regardless of where they've played. So I think it would be a great fit. I don't know if it's going to solve all of Orlando's problems, because last year they kind of bowed out in a way I didn't expect, and I know they didn't have Griezmann, but I don't know. We'll see. But I like the idea of it.
Yeah, it's an exciting move.
Well, Jonathan, is this breaking news? Am I missing something?
No, it's not breaking news, because
Okay.
it's I think the news report from Tom Bogert was that, I believe it was him, that it's advanced talks. So
Sure.
still nothing close yet, but they're in advanced negotiations. And
I always say
talks.
Orlando is, that's a club that Minnesotans somewhat follow, just because the Vikings are part owners, or they're the principal owners of that club. So they have a lot of vested interest in that. So I think Minnesotans do kind of follow Orlando a little bit more because of that. So, which is interesting.
For sure. Let's talk about the game that everybody's been talking about. And I know, Kyndra, you wanted to talk about one mishap that's Loons related. And Manny was shying away from wanting to talk about this. But what was going on with that second goal there, Kyndra? Dane St. Clair caught way outside of his box in LAFC 3, Miami 0, which was an incredible result. What a performance from LAFC. But Dane St. Clair caught way outside of his box. Denny Bouanga just kind of pops it up over him and just taps it into the back of the net. I guess break it down for us as the analyst on the show. What happened there? What was the play there? And how did that happen?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to talk about this because I think just a bigger picture, like what does this mean for Miami? And we can specifically talk about Dane St. Clair and the mishap and maybe the misjudgment and just being a little bit too aggressive and getting caught in no man's land. Manny and I talked about this at training the other day. I felt like Dane St. Clair should just stay in the box. Just if you're playing with your feet and there's a question mark of if you're going to get there, if you're going to get not get there, you've got one of the fastest players in the league in Denny Bouanga coming at you with a ton of skill, also by the way, and experience. This wasn't an unknown coming at him. This wasn't some new player that he didn't have the scoop on. And he got scooped, which, that was interesting. But I do think that this is just a bigger thing for me of what does this mean for Dane St. Clair and Miami? First of all, Miami just getting manhandled in that game by LAFC. And what a performance by LAFC. And also, I thought I was so impressed with the whole vibe in LA. Because everywhere Miami goes, you're expecting the whole stadium to be pink. And the Coliseum was rocking. They did it right. And there was pink, but not as much pink as we've seen other places. And I thought the LA crowd really came and kind of let Miami know what was up. And also they just every aspect of that game. LAFC had a game plan. And this is under a new coach, by the way. I know it's new, meaning Marco Santos, who's been there and proven that I think he's worthy of a head coaching position. And he didn't play exactly like LA played under Cherundolo. They played differently in my mind to a certain degree. He's got some of his own ideas with the crew that he's got, with the team that he has. But also last year, Miami, what did they go through? 5 goalkeepers? I mean, it was, I don't know what it was. It was a lot. And so I don't know how long they decide if it's not working or if they're not getting the performance they need under certain positions. And I hope for Dane St. Clair that he has, he plays Orlando next, actually. Miami plays Orlando at Orlando next. I'm hoping that he goes on the uprise because it's good for Minnesota United if he goes there and does well. In my opinion, it's good for the World Cup. He's got Canada coming up here hosting. So I hope that he has a great performance and gets on the right side of things, but Miami can be tricky in that way, especially with that goalkeeper position. Ask Drake Callender.
Yeah, I think it's for me when I look at that the way that team plays, it asks a little bit different of a game of Dane St. Clair than he played here, Manny. So that'll be interesting to see how he adapts. But I think going back to that first question that Kyndra asked, like, what does this mean for Miami? I know it's only week one. I know it's LAFC, so it's always going to be a little bit tougher. But that was kind of a statement performance by LAFC, and Miami didn't really have any answers on the night.
No, they had a lot of possession, but it was a key goal in that I do think Miami started to get some possession that second half and could, a goal of trying to tie it up or even trying to see if they could sneak a win. But overall, my answer to the Dane thing is like, listen, it's week one where there's a lot of good and bad. I don't think Dane has been in that position once last year.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is whether he's good at it or not, I think it's part of Dane adapting to a team that maybe plays a different style than we were. And like any goalie in any league, he's got to learn to adapt and he's got to learn to deal with the adversity both on and off the field of there might be more competition there with the goalie who won the MLS Cup last year versus here where, I think our reserves are a little bit more still on the upward trajectory of their career. So long story short, the adversity is hitting Dane. Probably will bring up Eric Ramsey a little bit here too. Very similar to Eric where these things happen in this sport. So for me, I think that on the individual level, wish Dane nothing but the best of luck. Like I said, I don't think he's got caught in that situation the way we played last year a lot. And it showed. He showed it was a little rusty, and he's got to figure that out. In terms of that game, though, I really do love the 75,000 home opener.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was bigger crowds anywhere in the world supporting soccer. I think as Americans, we should be really excited about some of the stuff going on in this country. Yes, the Messi effect, Son, Luanga, but that also is our league. We get superstars. There's a lot of leagues around the world that can't get superstars who want to live and play here, whether they're aging or not. So I thought that was a great celebration of the game. And I think within the game itself, I think it's very early where LAFC says we're very good defensively. We've got two amazing attacking guys who will punish you in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And then we got a young kid in Martinez that probably is destined for Europe here in a couple of years, the way he looks. So it's a really good team that I think Kyndra put it best. Dos Santos has put some identity into his team. He's ironically even more defensive in an organized way than Cherundolo. So that to me means they're probably going to be even more dangerous this year than they were last year.
Yeah, it was an interesting result because it also just kind of lays down the marker for the rest of the Western Conference. And we talked about it last week, Manny, and how LAFC are clearly, when you look at all the analysts across the league, they're picked as probably the favorite in the Western Conference, and they really put that marker down and told the rest of the Western Conference, you're going to have to chase us all season long by taking it to Miami in the way they did. Elsewhere across Major League Soccer, who had it on their bingo card that the Wooden Spoon winner last year was going to beat the Supporter Shield winner last year in game one of the season? I can say I certainly didn't have that on my bingo card.
Me neither.
Yeah, we played them in preseason, so I had a little bit at home. Again, I think that's why we shouldn't go overanalyze anything. Only one away team won this weekend. I think some of these teams that got some nice results at home will come back to reality. Some other ones, I thought DC played an outstanding game. I think they're very improved from last year. We played them in preseason, and we got to see they have some dangerous weapons, and their intensity and tempo seems to be better than I've ever seen it in terms of like even their recovery and their shape work has been really good. I think for me that Nashville result was really, really interesting because I think now in my early prediction, they're probably in that tier with Miami and Cincinnati kind of where they might challenge in the East, which is could be fun to watch from afar as us being in the West. And then I just enjoyed the Cincinnati Atlanta game, partly because we play them this weekend, partly because I think Atlanta's become must-watch TV based on Tata, based on every year they have a lot of money they spend, although they slowed it down this year. So now it's hoping the money they spent that investment works.
All right, here's what I'm going to do, because I know Manny loves to do this after week one. I want your week one overreactions. Just give me one each. Kyndra, I'll start with you, Manny. I'll give you some time to think about this, because I know you love overreacting to week one.
Yes.
Gosh, just like purely a result.
Yeah. What kind of took you by surprise? What place took you by surprise? Who kind of stood out to you? I want a week 1 overreaction. It doesn't have to stand up all season long.
Well, that's for dang sure. That's like when they ask us for our, hey, rank everybody 1 through 15.
Right.
Who's going to be the golden boot? Who's going to be the newcomer? Who's going to be that? And then we get crushed online afterwards, and people screenshot it and send it to me, including a sporting director for your very own club. Like, I would say I'm retracing all my steps here with the clubs. There's a lot. Well, first of all, it's hard to have an overreaction to some of these results. And I know that sounds silly, but with the coaching changes that happen, even you just brought up the DC United one, new coach, Ty Baribos playing against his old club and scoring. There's like so many emotions in that first week that I feel like it's hard for me to maybe pick one result. And even the Nashville one, it's Mukhtar and Suraj, 2 goals apiece. They had like 98% of their goals last year, and they beat a New England Revolution side who still can't figure it out. So I'm having a hard time looking at any of these.
You want me to help you out? You want me to start this off?
Yes, you do it first.
I go Manny's got the overreaction.
One of the clubs of my heart and my former club. I'm going to, for sure, it's San Jose. 3-0 at home. That's an overreaction for
against Sporting Kansas City, though.
I was going to say against the Kansas City side that has like 14 players total.
That's the whole point. You guys know I can overreact. There you go.
Oh, so you're going to go overreacting like in a positive way. I guess I was like glass half full, thinking like I'm going to overreact in a negative way. But okay, then I'm going to go San Diego crushing Montreal 5-0. That is amazing. Never saw that result.
I love it, Kyndra. And I think that goes to the point now we do talk about the West a little bit, because it's really our competition. We talked about LAFC and probably San Diego who really laid the gauntlet down. I thought Houston and Dallas looked really strong as well. Again, both teams were at home, so we'll give that. But if we're thinking about the West and where we're going, I think Houston and Dallas are in that conversation of they're looking like they're going to be some really good competition this year as well. But yeah.
Okay, was anybody surprised about any of the results in the other way? Like you thought somebody would be better and they weren't, like Seattle, Colorado, or is Colorado who we thought they were, or you know what I'm saying? Like, was there anybody that was like, oh, this is weird? I thought they'd show up better in week 1.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I thought Vancouver would look a little better personally.
Even with the schedule they have, I mean, I know they're playing some extra competitions, but
it's unfair to say it, but yeah, I mean
I thought Charlotte would have looked better. I mean, you're going up against the St. Louis side that's in transition, new head coach there. They've undergone a lot of change in the offseason as well. I thought Charlotte, a team that wants to be in that conversation with Nashville, Cincinnati, Miami to top of the East, they didn't really look too convincing. I mean, they went down 1-0 at one point and had to claw themselves back. So I think for me,
Galaxy was going to play, but I felt like when I watched the game, they were up 1-0 5 minutes in, and I thought that was a great home start to like move the ball a lot and kind of put their identity in the game. And I felt like it got away from them. Obviously, they got a red card, but it's interesting. I that was the one where I thought, I know they have the Ricky Puig gone, but I thought they've tried to address that already with some of the signings, and they seemed a little sluggish at home.
Well, and anytime I think you have a team New York to LA is about the longest trip you can take. And I have no idea where in New York, like how long early they got there. I have no clue on the details of that. It's East versus West. So, and it's your home opener if you're LA Galaxy. So there's probably a tremendous amount of expectations. And I think this is not the first time. I don't know, like with Greg Vanney, what kind of a leash does he have?
Well, they got a new deal, Kyndra, last year. So,
well, what does that mean?
I mean, it means they probably wait a little while. It's like,
I'm not saying he's going to be fired after game 1. Yeah. I'm just saying, you can't ride the coattails of like, well, we don't have our star player Ricky Puig like forever. I'm just saying how much time do you give him to like, I don't know. And I love
it. It's the way too early. Like,
I'm not saying he should be fired after week 1.
This went exactly where I wanted it to, by the way. I'm happy with this segment.
Okay, good.
Complete chaos. We're recruiting the next generation of superfans with Supporters U, our season ticket program for college students. For just $299, you'll get a season-long place in the supporters section, full season ticket member benefits, and an unforgettable experience. Learn more at MNUFC.com. Let's jump in. Let's transition. Minnesota United, obviously we're here to talk about Minnesota United. So we've talked about pretty much everybody else in week one. Let's talk about Minnesota United's week one. Kyndra, you were on the call for this one. I want to start off general thoughts on this one. I know for me, and I use this term on the radio broadcast side, there were some growing pains. There was a lot to be excited about, but there was also some things that you say, okay, that needs to be worked on, that needs to be fixed. Week one, so you're expecting that, but under a new system, kind of playing in a new style that you didn't play last year, there were some growing pains for sure. Kyndra, your general thoughts on this one?
Hey, Jonathan, as you go into that, Kyndra, I'm going to add, just to get your brain going too, like, you're obviously there live. You've called so many teams and games. Give us a sense of like their stadium, their atmosphere, what you think of Austin going into that. And how, again, I know we're trying to shift your brain from being a neutral to maybe just kind of getting a little Minnesota-centric. How you felt about us going into that game at that environment, and what were your expectations? And did they play out, or did it kind of go different when you called it? Like how did you emotionally go through the game?
Well, first of all, Austin is a beautiful stadium. And you've probably been there before as well. It's tricky because we've had this conversation. When we as broadcasters go to Austin, we don't ever stay downtown. We stay out like a block from the stadium. Like I can walk to the coffee shop and take a picture of the stadium from where.
So the guys are at the Fairmont right downtown.
And the PR guy, Cameron, like is, for Austin, talks about how Austin downtown is amazing, and there's this river and there's this trail and you can run and yada, yada, yada. So I have yet to experience that. We do have this cute little boutique hotel that we stay at called the Lone Star, where there's live music, and it's like a very country Austin-y vibe.
No offense to Texas, but that seems so original. Lone Star Hotel in Texas? Come on.
Well,
Lone Star beer.
But so the vibe is great. The stadium is beautiful. I love the green because it's everywhere. I mean, it's not just a thing. It's the real deal in Austin. I don't think, and I may be crushed for this, but I don't think it's one of the best overall vibes in the stadium. When we have our windows open always, no matter what the temperature is for the broadcast, you can hear it, you can feel it. You get a sense of the energy where our broadcast booth is. It's on this club level, but it doesn't have like seats right in front of us. So you don't get quite the same like fan vibe from up where we're at. Now the supporters section is phenomenal. Wind, rain, shine, snow, 130 degrees and sleeting, 2-hour, 3-hour storm delay. Like they're coming strong. As far as the game is concerned, when we were talking about it leading into the match, and I had dinner the night before with our broadcast coach who happens to live in Austin and my broadcast partner, Neil, and we were kind of chatting about what we thought the preseason looked like for these clubs and the vibe of Austin and the soccer vibe of Austin. And you and I, Manny, as well, we talked about this at training the other day. This is two teams that are both trying to sort of establish a different way of playing, even though Nico Estevez was there last year. He was trying to do what he could to make it to the postseason. Playing defense first, they need to be more aggressive, need to be more vertical, not play horizontal so much. So they had all these ideas that they were working on preseason. And plus they just added Facundo Torres, who isn't fully fit and getting into the swing of things. Mirto Ozuni, who has a ton of pressure on him to actually perform. And then on the other side of it for Minnesota with Cameron Knowles, a coach that's a new head coach, but also has been here forever and understands the guys. So I really didn't know what to expect as far as which team for each was going to show up. My hope that each would see a little bits and pieces of this new style that they want. But at the same time, I think both clubs sort of reverted back into their comfortableness, and like they looked like they were two teams trying to find this new way of playing. And then they would kind of slip, not necessarily into what they were last year, but just out of what they're trying to be. And it looked a little disorganized and chaotic. And then they'd be like, oh, well, wait, we're supposed to do this. This guy's supposed to move here now. This is what we want this guy to do. So they'd have these like little brain lapses. I thought 2-2 on the road for Minnesota coming back twice was a phenomenal result. And for Minnesota would feel like a win, and for Austin would feel like a loss. But a point on the road, in that scenario seemed like a fair result to me for how the game went and what the teams were trying to do.
Manny, your general thoughts on the evening where Minnesota, as we pointed out, came back twice to get a 2-2 draw on the road?
Yeah, I'm quickly love the way Kyndra set that up and talked about Austin, and like it is a special place I think to play, which I think to me means it was a special result given that only three teams tied, only one team won on the road, and given the fact that we went down early. So I'm like Kyndra. Not only does it feel like a win, I just love the response to adversity. Giving up a goal 4 minutes in, and if we're flipping from the vibe of the game to the actual goal, Jonathan, which I know you do sometimes, it was an incredibly frustrating goal. But the irony of all of little things, that the fact that Diaz was out versus DJ, who probably would have started, and you're playing this zone man-to-man market in this corner, and DJ now is on the corner in front of Boxel, and they haven't quite done that a lot last year together. Next thing you know, that space is created there where who's where, and I think if it's Diaz, that's like a clear ball. And I'm not saying DJ or Boxel were involved. I think it was Travis's guy, but that's an early season reality of substitutions, etc. And then you give up a set piece goal, which we're usually good at. And the next thing you know, the guys had to fight and battle to find 90 minutes to find a point, and they did it. So long story short, I thought it was a great result, two great comebacks. Whenever you want to talk about the tying goal, there's so many things I loved about it. So when we get to it, we can get to it. But just what, like, after that goal, I felt like, yeah, let's find a way to compete in this game.
Yeah, and I think the thing that stands out to me is, as we talked about this a lot, Manny, last year, and the word that was kind of the key for us last year was the adversity and fighting through that adversity in this game alone. You come out and Austin kind of takes control of the match early on. They get the goal in the 7th minute off a corner kick, which Minnesota were generally very good at defending last year. And that kind of sets the team back and kind of sends them reeling a little bit. They take over probably the middle chunk of the match. They had a good spell of possession, a good spell of momentum in that middle portion. They get Morris Duggan's first ever goal for the club on a set piece, kicking right back off where Minnesota left off last year with the set piece goals. And then it felt like probably the 60th minute when the substitutions came in, Manny, Austin started taking over again. The field tilted in Austin's favor again, and they score the goal in the 76th minute. And then that leads to the goal at the end of the game, Manny. And I know you want to talk about it. I know I want to talk about it because there's lots of different little pieces. I just want to bring up
one little sentiment real quick.
Yeah.
And Kyndra, and you can respond, is I just felt last year when we got down, there was a little more, I don't think we're going to come back. Like, it felt harder, and it's very early. But
do you think that was because of the shape and the way they played tactically? There was just less opportunity because it was all transition, or what? Why do you think that was?
I think our overall game plan last year, in a very complimentary, like, awesome way, overwhelmed the league with how deep we defended and how hard we were to break down for large portions of the game. That then opened up our counterattack to find a set piece goal or find a way to counterattack. And it tended to be that we'd win 1 or 2-0 or 3-1-ish based on us not coming back, but based on, we did a style that the league hadn't been used to for a long time with that kind of long, deep defending. And
to your point, last year, when the Loons conceded the first goal, they only won once and they drew 3 times.
So there's my point. My point is, it was really fun to have a game where we came back twice. I don't think we did that all year last year. That's kind of a cool feeling.
Are you going to break down the goal? Do you want to talk about the goal, man? I know you liked a lot of things. I know you liked a lot of things about this goal. Yeah, there was a lot of good things in that goal, and some things that maybe not everybody realizes, but you guys probably recognize right away.
I will say, like, the first goal, by the way, you've talked about Chancalay quite a bit, Kyndra. We've talked about he adds a different dynamic offensively, and he was obviously hugely involved in the first goal just by, getting that shot off. Great shot, great save by Stuver that led to a corner. So I think that was a cool moment because I think you kind of been talking about this potential partnership with Pereira and Chancalay and potentially James. That gets exciting when we think about our offensive opportunities.
Yeah, Chancalay was fun to watch on the night, but I want to go to this game tying goal. Kelvin Yeboah getting on the goal scoring and getting off to a good start to the season. I mean, overall his performance was great on the evening, but getting the goal was so important for him to start the season off. But there was a lot of moments, a lot of key pieces in this in this goal. Devin Padelford with the 70-yard run up the field, just impressive from him. I think the thing that stands out to me, Manny, was the little dummy run by Momo Dejang to open up the space for Calvin Yeboah to come in the box, a late run by Yeboah and score the goal. I think that's the part that stood out to me is he's not going to get on the score sheet. The stat's not going to show up that he did that. But looking back at that replay in real time is like, oh, this guy, this young kid who has a lot of developmental promise, made a really smart run in a really key moment to open up the space for a teammate for him.
I love it. Can I say that's a tie with like 4 other things?
Yeah, go ahead. Break it down.
Goals. I think it starts with the throw-in and that Austin tactically committed numbers to say, let's make it hard for them to get out. And it really is usually hard for the ball to leave that space in the way that we did. I love Joaquin coming over and offering himself to say, I will take a great touch in the tough space to release. He plays an half volley throw-in, 1 touch to Julian, incredibly tough technique. Julian, great touch and a great outlet pass. Now you've got the opportunity for Devin Padelford. And by the way, if Devin is not hungry to make that kind of a run, they shift and get back and get their number. But he just goes. So to me, I start with the touch by Pereira, the pass outlet by Julian, and then we got to give Devin so much credit for his just athleticism, his hunger, and the quality of the service was outstanding. And I just loved the finish. And I agree. Momo's run was great, but people think that's an easy finish. Calvin, it's still not as easy as people think.
Yeah.
And it was definitive, and it was athletic, and it just all elements and the tempo of it. You could feel the stadium be like, whoa, that was a really good goal. And we just probably gave away 3 points, with it. So it was a great goal, great team goal. I think it's a tie with Momo, Devin's service and run. Obviously, Kelvin finishing it, and Joaquin and Julian with those great touches.
I think what even makes that entire sequence more spectacular is the people that were doing it. And Joaquin, we expect certain things, of course, and and it's still not an easy touch. I'm not implying that, but there's an expectation of his quality on the ball. And
Sure.
And Gressel, we know he's capable of making that kind of a pass. But Devin, to go on loan last year to St. Louis City, who he has talked about very clearly, and I heard him post practice the other day talking to the reporters about this, and what that did for him, the confidence, the how it challenged him as a homegrown from Minnesota who has been here in his, hometown this entire time. And Mandy, you and I talked about this at training as well the other day, to challenge him in a different way, to be in a new place, a new system, a new city, a new team, and going out there and getting some real minutes in St. Louis. And how that just made him mature and grow in a different way. And then to bring that back here, and I even saw him come back from his loan last year when Minnesota was still in their playoff push and being at training, and he was back in training he looked like a different player. He looked more mature and confident and more like in his abilities. And that's what he did in that play. He drove forward with confidence. There was no hesitation. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. Didn't stop and slow up and look. He drove. I mean, his head's kind of like popping up just in case, but he knew he wanted to get to the end line. The defender didn't close down the space. And then at the same time, for Momo to make that run to the near post, knowing that he's trying to prove himself as a goal scorer. And a lot of the staff has been preaching, don't hesitate, shoot, don't hesitate, score, don't make the pass, don't make the extra touch. Like he made that very unselfish run, knowing he was not likely to get the ball and he was going to take the defender or defenders with him. And then Kelvin to make sure that he is continuing on in that run. This is late in the game where Minnesota has had next to nothing in the offensive third for quite some time. Austin kind of seemed in control. And Kelvin to make sure he was in the right spot at the right time and come off his, make sure he got in a position where he was kind of off his mark and had that home. And Kelvin, by the way, who also needs a little confidence boost after the way last year ended. And to score in the first game of the season,
huge.
I mean, there's just a lot of things in that moment, I think, that besides just the quality of the play itself, the players that were doing it, I think that is big for this team to come away with that.
I really like you brought up Devin because I get to be around the team a lot more. And I can tell you, you do sometimes earn your minutes. And Devin had kind of had an outstanding preseason. He did look more like an athletic, confident player this year than I've ever seen him. And that was how he played in preseason. I think that's why Cam put him in a key moment to say, hey, this guy might give us something offensively, given how he's been playing in preseason.
Yeah, and at that point, you're taking off one of your best, if not your best set piece scorer in Anthony Marcanic and bringing on Devin Padelford. And he proved that it was the right call. And Devin
Hey,
Padelford,
Jonathan,
yeah,
just to kind of have fun here, because you always ask us questions and we just,
yep,
let's talk about our new goalie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Drake Callender, I loved it.
Your thoughts on his debut?
The two goals, I don't think when you look back at him, I don't think he had much of a chance or an opportunity to stop them. But when he was called upon, he made some big saves, some confident plays. His distribution out of the back was a little bit better than we've seen from the goalkeepers here in the past. So I think I liked what I saw from Drake Callender in his first game, confident and kind of just playing really solidly at that back line with a really good, for the most part, defensive performance in front of him from the two center backs, Michael Boxall and Morris Duggan, who had outstanding performances on the night.
I agree. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
A different sort of confidence from Drake,
Yeah.
very confident and completely capable. I think his distribution is probably going to be a little bit more accurate and spot on than maybe we've seen in the past, not just playing with his feet, but some of the distribution when Cameron is asking them to find those moments to go long or be more direct or play off the second ball or whatever it might be, play quickly. Maybe we didn't get to see it as much in the Austin game, but I think it's something that will continue to develop with the chemistry of the guys that are in front of him. But no, I thought same thing. There wasn't a goal. There wasn't like some glaring thing where I'm like, how did he not handle that? You know, the two goals that were scored, I didn't think that he had anything to do with it. And I think it'll be a massive replacement, just a different kind of confidence than what we were used to seeing in the way he exhibits it.
Yeah. Overall, on the match, on the evening, your guys' thoughts on the style of play, what we saw, and I know that was the big talking point about this team coming into the match, is that it was going to be a different style of play. There was an evolution from what we were going to see or what we saw last season. Kyndra, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on the style of play for Minnesota. I know we mentioned at the top of this conversation, there's some growing pains. They're still learning the intricacies of this new system, but your thoughts on the overall style of play on the night.
I thought we could see flashes of what they're trying to do, at least what we've been told they're trying to do, just from the outside looking in the couple sessions I've been to during the preseason. So I think there's flashes of it. And I think some of the guys are still just trying to figure that out. I mean, they've had this, this ingrained into them, the way they were going to play, wanted to play, and the way they did all of last season, which is not an easy thing to do, to defend for 90 minutes for 34 games in the way that they did, incredibly organized and compact in basically your defensive half or third of the field. And now, Cameron Knowles isn't saying, I don't want to be compact and defend, but just do it higher up the pitch in different ways. And asking, Bongi now to be more of an attacking minded player. He's got to go back to that mindset. So just little things like that. I don't think Triantis maybe looks as good as, I don't know, something seems a little bit off as far as his confidence. I told Manny the other day at training, it was like, it's weird. He was driving forward one time and I'm like, why is he not shooting the ball? He can shoot it from half field, for God's sakes, like shoot it from 30 yards out. Like just certain things where I think there's just a little bit of, guys getting confident, maybe guys not 100% where they need to be, and understanding the new way they're being asked to play. Sean Kalai, how he fits in that, how Joaquin can play. Even in preseason, I believe the question was, can some of these guys float in and be like a number 10? And that was before James Rodríguez, and who knows what that looks like. But even Marcanic can play with his feet. Can he kind of go forward but then tuck in? Or like, can your center back step in and join in the attack when you're confident in your possession and farther up the field? Just other little things that I think that are still a work in progress, and it's going to take time. And I like the flashes I saw of it, but we'll see. At home against Cincinnati can be a completely different challenge, but at least you're on home turf.
Manny?
Oh, I tend to agree with what Kyndra was saying there. I was really impressed with how organized and structured we felt in a different way, and still, I think there were some individuals, and it's no problem. I think they're going to get better. I think Anthony didn't have his best day. I didn't think Bongi had his best day. I didn't think Triantis had his best day. And we still felt like the coach had us organized and structured to get a result. And I think that's an impressive compliment to the staff to prepare the team. And I think it's impressive for the group, because always the group is more important than the individual. So, overall, other individuals like Kelvin, I thought really looked sharp and battled really well. Overall, I thought it was a really good group performance, because the group needed to perform well, because I don't think all the individuals were as good on the day, and for different reasons. Triantis had a little chunky preseason. Bongi's starting to remind himself that he can get up high and play forward and do some things that Cam wants to do him differently. So again, and I think teams are going to key on Anthony, which is fine. Ultimately, we're going to grow into it. But overall, I think there was a evolution from last year already, just based on us battling back twice and reminding ourselves that we can come back in games.
Yeah, it was certainly fun to watch, and interesting to see how this goes forward and how they kind of grow into this new style of play for them and kind of break out of the uber defensive shell that they had last year. That transitions us and moves us forward into match day 2, Minnesota United hosting FC Cincinnati this Saturday at Allianz Field, 3:30 kickoff for that one. Kyndra, you're on the call for Apple TV. Dan Terrar and myself on the call for the radio side, also on SiriusXM. Looking forward to that. This is a big one because this starts a stretch of really, really tough games for Minnesota. And the next 4, I believe, games are against.
All right, so Jonathan, my first question is a trivia question for you specifically. Have Loons ever played in February before?
At home? I don't think they played at home in February.
Okay.
Nope.
At Allianz
They've
Field?
never. No. Mm-mm.
No.
No.
All right.
Looking forward to it. Come on, snow opener. I know nobody likes the snow opener, but I love the orange ball. Bring out the orange ball. Bring out the snow. Make it chaos.
I don't understand that vibe because we can't really play soccer, but okay.
Well, that's exactly it. Well, like at the end of the day, you want to see soccer. Yeah, I don't want to see a ball rolling around the pitch that looks like Saturn when it's covered in snow. But yes, the cold, I think, you
guys
can
and
handle.
are just orange ball haters. You guys not enjoying the chaos and the fun. All right,
listen, let's have a cloudy day then. They say we have to use an orange ball. That's fine. Just do that.
Day. Gross.
No, it's like too much Cincinnati vibes then.
No,
too much of a
field is cleared already, so there's no snow. It'll be chilly though. It'll be a real Minnesota day, so hopefully
there's a chance of snow. A chance. So
we'll I heard Cincinnati got a bunch of snow.
Oh, really? Crazy.
Yeah, because we're supposed to have our Cincinnati coaches call this afternoon, and they said they had to move training back because of the snow.
Wild. All right. Well, they're preparing.
They're just preparing. Yeah, they're just getting ready.
I mean, I don't want to bring up any bad memories, but if anybody remembers 2017 and we were like, oh, we've got all these Scandinavians, like we're going to be great. And Atlanta's got all these, we're going to weather that storm and that blizzard.
Yeah.
Didn't work out too well. Let's talk about this home opener, which is hopefully going to go a lot better than that home opener did. FC Cincinnati coming to town. They finished just 1 point shy of the Supporters Shield last year. They were one of the best teams in the league in the Eastern Conference. It was a little bit watching back at that match, that 2-0 win over Atlanta. Both the goals came late. It was a little bit tricky. I know they lost to Vander early on, and that's going to be he's questionable for the game. And how does that change things for them, Kyndra? Without a Vander, who might not play based off of coach's comments earlier this week, might not play. I know Matt Miazga's still working his way back from injury, wasn't available last week. So they've got a couple key injuries that changes their style of play. What do we expect from FC Cincinnati on Saturday?
Well, I think what we saw in that first MLS game when Evander went down so early was when Dado Valenzuela came in the game, who's a young player that they are super high on and incredibly confident. And he's no Evander, but he can lead the line and kind of dictate things in a different way. And you can speak for this, Manny. When you have a team that is confident in you, it makes all the difference in the world. And listening to Pat Noonan's post-game press conference from that match, there's like zero hesitation from his own teammates that he could come in and get the job done. He had an incredible preseason. He had a good year last year, meaning Dado Valenzuela. And so they felt good about what he was going to be able to do in this match and stepping in that moment. So I think, of course, it changes if Evander can't play, just his quality on the ball and set pieces, you name it. There's just a different way of how you have to defend and be aware of where he is on the field when he's on. But otherwise, I think Cincinnati, what they've sort of proven is even in the game last night, which they absolutely trounced that team in CONCACAF Champions Cup 9-0. But I mean, they rotated the squad. So that's more my point, is the depth of this team, the quality of the depth of this team, the confidence of it. And you can still have a couple of guys that are not starters per se, but they have been in the past, Alvis Powell. And you talk about some youngsters, Ramirez, who is Pat Noonan is super high on. So this is another group. And I think that this is going to be a tough challenge for Minnesota. And what they might have to hang on to is that they have played an extra game in the middle of the week, even though they rotated the squad. and that they're traveling, just things like that. They're going to have to say, okay, how can we get to Cincinnati? How can we take advantage? But this is a Cincinnati team that I think Pat Noonan feels pretty good about. They still need Denke to keep scoring goals, maybe at a higher rate than he did last year. They brought in Barlow in the offseason. So a lot of good things, but I think it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Manny, your scouting report on what Loons fans should expect to see out of FC Cincinnati at Allianz Field on Saturday.
Yeah, I think we are hosting one of the better teams in MLS, one of the favorites to win the East, and one of the favorites to maybe put in the supporter shield. And so I think it's a great opportunity for us to see where we are against a high quality team. I think Kyndra talked about it really well in that they sneakily have a ton of depth. And are a really good, solid team. They do have some issues for me in terms of, they're not always solid defensively the entire game. Last year, I thought they were, especially at home, gave up a lot of points, that affected them getting the supporter shield and didn't have a great home record, but they were very good on the road. So I'm excited and I love playing against the better competition MLS for a home opener. I just love it just because it's going to be a packed house, a lot of exciting vibe about the team tying on the road, a lot of exciting vibe about, our goals and evolution of the group as a whole. And then obviously James Rodríguez signing, and there's a chance he might play. He might, he's still building into that fitness level that is really important. I think it's important people realize he hasn't really played since October, I think, maybe early November, I think October-ish. So it's a long layoff. So it's a lot of pressure on the club to figure out how to build him into, playing consistently. But it does feel like there's some momentum given that he's trained for about a week to 10 days now, that the timing might be right for those minutes. So that adds another element of this opening day excitement for sure. When you have like one of the greatest South American players of all time potentially being out there is really exciting too. So it's just an awesome matchup. I love the 10-year celebration, and I love that it's against a really good team. And so going back to Cincinnati, you have a forward that gets criticized, and similar to Calvin, scored in his first. Oh no, he didn't score in his first game, but he scored last night. Did he scored the first?
No,
game?
he scored. It was him and Hagelin.
Yes, the second goal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to Kendra's point, I think they got better when Vander went off the field, only because I think Atlanta started out really strong, and then somehow that sub kind of like just equalized them a little bit. So long story short, very good team, very good opponent. We're gonna have to be ready for a good battle on a cold day in Minnesota.
Quick question: What did you guys think of Miles Robinson in that game? What did you guys?
I mean, athleticism is just through the roof. Like he just cleans up so much stuff. Obviously,
that run he made against Almiron late in the first half, I think, where he closed down that angle. Mm-hmm. And just had to get on his burners was impressive. One of the more impressive runs that I've seen from a center back making this league.
Yeah. I think it's really important we move around the field. Excuse me. We pull him out of that central channel as much as we can. At times, he's not always great with his decision-making passing. So if we can put him in situations where he's got to think about what he's going to do offensively versus just, running down guys and limiting chances, it's going to be a big one for us. And Kelvin's got his hands full to really battle him. It's going to be a good battle because again, he's in a good space. I think right now as a player, is one of the top defenders in this league. I think he's clocked as the fastest defender in the league. So and he's physically is amazing.
And he's playing to be part of the U.S. men's national team for the upcoming World Cup because he missed out on the last one due to a brutal Achilles injury just months before the 2022 World Cup. So he's looking, he's trying to play his way into that squad. Which
are you saying our center backs for the men's national team are in question?
Saying a lot
that's
of things on that team are in question.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, that is another podcast. I'm not. I'm getting better and better.
That's another podcast where when we start talking, Kyndra, about the U.S. men's national team, the inner fan in Manny comes out to the point where the curse words start coming out. And I really appreciate that.
And there's positive curse words lately, by the way. There's some really good positive curse words lately. I think we should be excited for what's coming. So.
That'll be the podcast closer to June.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about my final question for this game. What's the next step? Because you guys already talked about the defense and going up against Cincinnati's defense, which has a bunch of big names and can perform on their day. What's the next step for the Loons in their tactical evolution that we've been talking about throughout the preseason through game one. What's that next step for you, Manny, that you want to see this weekend?
Yeah, I think our outside backs need to play better because I think that'll allow us to keep a little bit more possession, which we want to do, and create a few more like, hey, Cincinnati, you can't just throw numbers forward. Like I think our outside backs this weekend have to be two-way kind of dangerous because I think that'll bring Pereira into the game. I think it'll bring Trunkline into the game more. I think it'll make Cincinnati nervous on the road of throwing a ton of numbers forward. And they do a good job sometimes of overwhelming you with the ball and in kind of waves of attacks when they really get going. So we just need our outside backs and the back four to be great defensively, but also understand that, Shankly and Joaquin will go central. So there is space to go forward and arrive late. And then certainly, I always say this is like, we're playing a new year, new team. Our center midfielders have to dominate on both sides of the ball. We got to win the 50-50s, the 40-60s, the 60-40s. So important. I mean, and people don't realize how important it is to get control of that ball and make the other team kind of work, as opposed to like you lose those and now they get an offensive chance because you lost the ball in a bad spot.
Kyndra, for you, what's the tactical step that you want to see from game one to game two for Minnesota?
Well, I'll be kind of curious to see, based on Manny's point about the outside backs, because I think I said this the other day at training, or I don't remember where I said this, but I'll be curious to see how much Marcanic gets forward as opposed to last year, because it's, playing 4 instead of 5 and just sort of like the freedom he may have to go forward. And then the cover that has to come from, whether it's Trap, which he's fortunate, meaning Marcanic, that Trap is so smart and can recognize and understand when he needs to stay home and cover. So I'll be curious to see how much the outside backs can get forward based on playing with 4 instead of 5. And then also based on who's available. Because to Manny's point about the midfield and winning those balls, I didn't think Triantis had his best game and maybe has looked as good. I thought Will Trapp got caught a couple times because he was having to cover. And, maybe that one time he got that yellow card and had to make that late challenge, and he immediately went to Triantis and was like, you need to be here. Just understanding the spaces and where and how they need to work together depending on how the attack looks. So the other question I have then is, we didn't see Owen Jen in that game. I don't think that I remember. We didn't see Kyle Duncan in that last game, which I'll be curious to see.
I would throw Peter Stroud in there as well. I mean, those
Peter Stroud, exactly.
Guys that come in will do a great job. So.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, to be fair, I don't know if the audience knows, Triantis had some personal issues, so he didn't have like a normal preseason.
Yes.
Or he got the same kind of fitness as everybody else. So.
Yep. And so there's an understanding there. But then back to that point, like the depth that you have now in the center of midfield, depending on because Stroud was here for the whole preseason, and we know Carlos Harvey can step in and play a center midfield role. So depending on what the game calls for. But no, I agree. And I just want to see Minnesota be a little bit more on that front foot, farther up the field as a unit when they're trying to press and win the ball higher up the field to force that turnover to then be closer to the goal, something that we didn't see as much last year based on how Eric Ramsey was asking them to play. And I think that that's a team that, and I believe Cameron Knowles said this, that, team players enjoy being on the front foot and like being the aggressor and winning the ball high. Like there's an energy that comes about that. And so if they can establish that early in this game at home, the crowd's going to be on fire. And I think it'll be a tremendous atmosphere and just build on that adrenaline.
Yeah, this is a FC Cincinnati team that was excellent on the road last season. We talked, Manny, you mentioned their home woes last season, but on the road, 11 wins, 2 draws, 4 losses away from Cincinnati last season. They were the best road team in the league last year. They were incredible. So
I hope that gets our fans and our players pumped up. Let's home opener. Let's play the best. I mean, by the way, this first 5 games, we are it's coming at us fast. So this is a great challenge. If you want to assess where we are early, and it's going to be tough too, a tough challenge. After this, we got 2 tough road games.
Yeah, Nashville, and then Vancouver, and then come home to Seattle, which I know there's a lot of storylines with that one based off of the playoff series last year. So, it's a tough stretch here for Minnesota. Then they go out to LA to take on the Galaxy.
Fun stretch. Let's go. Let's
and then you got San Diego in April. I mean. That's the beauty of MLS though now. Yeah. I mean, really, when you look at your schedule and go, oh, that's an easy one. We can pack it in. Like we don't have to bring our, there's just like no games like that anymore. That's
I
what's
will
great.
say though, Kyndra, in the 10 years of the club, I think this is the hardest start to the season we've ever had. Like I really believe this is the hardest 5-game stretch I can remember in our MLS iteration as a club. So it is a tough one.
I won't make you predict how these guys are going to do in the first 5 games. Don't get, I won't make you
I won't, but
give me a record.
I'm into this vibe of our fans now. And like, again, it's hard because I wish it was green grass and I'm watching the guys just spray that ball and beautiful training sessions, but that's not where we are. And I'm so excited.
We're going to get snow.
Fans, the opening day never disappoints because our fans always show up, are into it. They haven't seen a lot of their neighbor-seated friends for 5 months, and it's just got this cool vibe that pulls you into the season right away. And I still argue we have some of the best fans in the league, for sure. If not,
I was going to say, I never questioned the fan base here.
No, it's amazing.
I mean, we were all at the February 2nd U.S. men's national team game, which was a little chilly, and all the fans were showing up. So, yeah, exactly. So I don't ever question the fan base here. That's for sure. They're going to show up.
All right, final question about this game. I'm going to want you guys to make a prediction. Prediction we see James this weekend. Kyndra, I'll start with you, then Manny. Percent chance.
Like on the field or just in the stadium or up in the
on the field?
Okay, on the field.
Because I assume we'll see him in the stadium, but on the field. Percent chance.
I'm gonna say 70% chance.
All right, Manny, you got to give me a number. You can't back out.
I'm gonna say to our audience, it's a reminder that there is a bigger. And it's a real challenge of our staff of building somebody into their fitness and health so they're not just ready for one game, but ready to contribute for this first half of the season going into the World Cup is incredibly challenging. And it's incredibly challenging to decide how are you helping put him on the field to make, individually make sure he stays healthy, and then also the team and building it. So it's incredibly complex. And so I give a ton of credit to our staff that this is not a black and white moment or decision. But given all that, I feel like it feels like a game where it would be nice to have a little more on the bench. So that I'm leaning towards, as long as the health is there this week and the fitness is still going on this upward trajectory, I don't see why there's not a chance that he's on the bench. But I'm also 100% okay if the staff is like, we want to make sure we get this right, and let's make sure he's healthy and fit going into it as well. So my answer is, I think I leaned in the Vegas odds to more being there, but I'm 100% okay if he's not.
Yeah, I think that's fair. By the way, if that Griezmann signing does go through and you get James Rodríguez to stick around for the second half of the season, that August 29th game at Allianz Field between Minnesota United and Orlando City SC will have some incredible star power on the field.
Love it.
So
love it.
That'll be.
I'm going to send a message to my boss right now. How we feel about me doing the August game? Yeah. See if I can get that home. See if I can get that home game.
I wouldn't blame you at all. All right, final question of the show. Game you're looking forward to outside of Minnesota Cincinnati this weekend. Kyndra, you go first.
Oh man. Well, now I got to look at all the games.
Schedule.
Yeah.
I think for me,
you made Kyndra go first. That was smart, John. smart.
I think for me, the one, and this is
yes, you go first, Jonathan.
Vancouver, Toronto. I don't expect Josh Sargent to play because he's just getting over this week, but I think that's a very interesting one. Obviously, the Canadian rivalry there, but I want to see if Toronto, if he does play, what does he look like in that system? Can they kind of take a step forward? I know there's been questions of what Toronto's going to be this season. Vancouver got off to a 1-0 win start at the weekend. So what are they? What are Toronto? I think that's the one that sticks out for me. Kyndra?
By the way, did you guys already talk about that signing? What do we feel? That dollar amount.
Whew, it's a lot.
Oh, my, yeah.
I'm sorry, but I was surprised.
I don't know that it might. Yeah. I've never been the biggest Josh Sargent fan, so I don't know about it.
I mean, he's a 1-3, 1-4 goal scorer. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. That definitely is. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how their style and what they do. Now, he's a solid, really good player. So maybe that's just part of their process now to rebuild into what they want to be. But again, we know there's certain teams this
I think
league.
him and Mihailovic will be fun, but
That's true.
They spend a lot of money.
I was going to say Toronto's not opposed to throwing around money, but at least this one
true.
I think they did a little more research on.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the West. I'm excited to just see. Right now, I think Nashville and LAFC are kind of like the de jour teams of the first week, and they really deserve it. They played amazing. And obviously, we keep an eye on the West. So I want to see how Houston does against LAFC at home, and I want to see how Dallas does against Nashville, because those are two teams that are putting their chest out that they've improved from last year early on. They're both at home against really good teams, so I'm really curious to see how they do.
I'm going LA Galaxy Charlotte because we were all kind of down on both of those teams and how they looked in week 1. So I'll be kind of curious to see how Charlotte does heading to LA Galaxy and what kind of results, who can come up with what.
What did Charlotte do to get 2 road games to start off the season?
Yeah, they have a nice climate. What are they doing?
LA played their starting lineup last night, 0-0, 90 minutes. I think it's a great opportunity for Charlotte to get 3 points.
Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't been the start that LA Galaxy would want, considering there was a lot of buzz from the national talking heads and national pundits about LA Galaxy and what they could be based off of what they were last season. The back end of the season, as they kind of grew adapted to life without Ricky Puig, but obviously the loss of Puig early on in the preseason has affected them mentally. And how do we think Joao Klaus is going to fit in there? Week 1, we saw how it fit. We saw him get on the score sheet, but does that fit for them? I don't know, Kyndra.
I'm not sure where he fits. I mean, he'll get some service there, which I think is beneficial. I mean, that's a positive for him. I think he needed a change of scenery in the worst way. I mean, there's certain players, right, that you look at and you're like, just like Daniel Shalhoub, leaving Sporting Kansas City. Sometimes guys just need to change the scenery and see what happens. But I'll be happy for him if he can have a good season, but I'm not really sure. He has not been the player that he was when he bust on the scene with St. Louis in that first season and a half. And every time I've watched him, I don't question his work rate. He's an incredibly hard worker. I just don't think he's the same player that we saw. So I'm not sure much is going to change just heading to LA, except for that he's going to have nice warm weather all the time.
Galloway to TFC is one move I forgot about, as well as Sporting Kansas City continues to just shed pieces and go towards just 11 men total on their roster. It feels like they don't have a lot of players. So it's an interesting time for Sporting Kansas City. Guys, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this game this weekend. Minnesota FC Cincinnati, 3:30 p.m. at Allianz Field. Catch that one on Apple TV with Kyndra D. St. Aubin. Radio side, you can listen to Dan Terra and myself. We have a pre-match show starting at 2:30. So an hour-long pre-match show building up to the home opener of the 10th season in Major League Soccer for Minnesota.
So basically, I'm here with the radio and TV of Saturday.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like it. Yeah.
And you'll be joining us in the pregame show, I'm assuming, right? Like you did last year.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. Yeah. We'll work out the timing on that coming up in a little bit. But
I will say, Jonathan, not to go down in the show, but I also will let you guys know it's going to be a little emotional. Obviously this community went through a couple months of some really tough just moments of probably even building up for the last couple of years, but especially. And there's going to be some moments, at this weekend that are going to be emotional too. So certainly, I think I'm glad that sports is there for people to kind of release some maybe grieving moments, but I'm also excited for the game to kind of remind how awesome sports are to unify things together. But it's another element that we have to add to the game day of an opening day is really hard on the guys of finding that balance. So. It'll be a special day for the fans no matter what. There's no doubt. There's nothing like open days. 10 years in MLS now. It's surreal. Like I said, last weekend was a nice reminder how big MLS is getting. And now we get to taste that at home with our fans. And again, it'll be an emotional game for sure because some of the stuff planned. Yeah, looking forward to it. As I said, 3:30 Apple TV, 2:30 pre-match show with Dan Terra and myself. 3:30 kickoff for that. Also on Sirius XM-FC channel 157, 1500 ESPN, Score North mobile app, live.1500ESPN.com. Catch us anywhere. And looking forward to it. Thanks to the production staff, Grace Dearson, Kyle Hayward, Evan Entler for putting this on every week. And Loons fans, we'll talk to you next week.